All kinds of ships use the harbor at the big station by the sea. There are passenger ships, cargo ships, and fishing boats also come here. They unload their fish on the quay. Some of it goes to shops in the town, and the rest in a special train to other places far away. This is the train the railwaymen call the Flying Kipper.
Everyone has their favorite Thomas episode, one that accurately explains why they love the show. One that they look back on with pure nostalgia and can watch over and over again. The show that got them into Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends and keeps them coming back to this day. For me, that episode is the Flying Kipper. I know that a lot of people feel that way, but why wouldn't they? I know Tugs has went into detail on this episode before in one of his videos, and I know I can't do a better job of explaining it, but I'm going to try. Shout out to him. If you haven't seen his videos, go watch him. He's great at this. The Flying Kipper is the 19th episode of the model series. It starts out with Henry in the shed one night. His driver says he'll be up early the next morning to pull the Flying Kipper, a goods train that pulls fish from the harbor to the mainland. His special Welch coal has been working nicely, and he's told if he pulls it good, he might be able to pull the express. Henry's excited. So at 5 o'clock that morning, Henry is at the harbor, and he struggles off in the frost and snow through the countryside. He soon gets up to speed and makes his way through the snowy ice and towns and the countryside as the sun rises. They're going well. They come to a yellow caution signal that means caution, and they prepare to stop until they see that the home signal is down, meaning the line ahead is clear, so they carry on. But unknowingly to them, the main line points ahead are frozen towards the siding, and the home signal was supposed to be up, but snow had forced it down. Another goods train is waiting in the siding ahead to let the Kipper pass. The driver and firemen are in the brake van having cocoa when they realize the Kipper is due. So they exit the van just before Henry speeds onto their siding. Henry, unable to stop in time, crashes into the back of the goods train and lands on his side off the rails. Later that morning, the breakdown train arrives to clean up the accident, and Sir Topham Hatt tells Henry that ice and snow caused the accident and it wasn't his fault. He's sending them to crew to be repaired, where he will get a new shape and new firebox. Henry isn't quite sure about that. But that spring, Henry comes back in great shape. Everyone is excited to see him, and he even gets to pull the express. He does it so well that Gordon is actually jealous. So that's it, my favorite Thomas episode. But there's so much more than just the story that makes this episode so amazing to me. To start off, it's the first episode where most of it is shot at night. Previously, the only shots at night were in front of the sheds where the engines were talking, and everything else was during the day. Also, the addition of snow around the island made these sets truly incredible. I know it wasn't the first episode with snow, but at night and in the morning's shots, the snow looks great. Everything seems to be in just the perfect place as well. The harbor shots have people working, and there are trucks and cranes and lights. And when Henry steams through the town, you can see tire tracks in the snow of cars and bicycles and just all sorts of things. The little details that make it so perfect. And it's always like that in Thomas, but it just seems very, more paid attention to in this episode. When Henry steams through the countryside, the sun is just coming up. So the backdrop has this amazing, orangey, greenish, yellow color, and it looks amazing. And it delivers some of the most incredible shots of the entire series, if you ask me. Also, this is the first episode that I can remember showing actual wheel slip to get a train going. And when I was little, I'd go back and I would just rewind it and play it in slow motion. And it would just mesmerize me. I just made it feel like a real steam train to me. Henry takes off slow, and he struggles to get going, which also added that realism for me. Also, this is the first actual on-screen crash for the model series. Previously, James had crashed, but you just see him laying in a field. You don't see him actually go off the rails. And it actually looks pretty good for their first try. Henry slams into the back of the brake van, and it explodes up into the air, and there's debris everywhere. And he lands on his side, and he comes down on the ground hard. And you can see the snow shoot up, and it just has this big thud. And I know that's probably just audio additions to it, but it sounds really nice. You can see someone pushing Henry into the back of the brake van, and that's a big goof. But it's their first try. They're not going to get it right. The biggest thing that most people get from this episode, though, is the music. The Flying Kipper theme is one of the best pieces of music in the entire series. There are so many orchestra covers on YouTube, and all of them rule. But I think the original holds up just fine. It really adds to the scene of Henry rushing through the snowy sunrise, and it makes it feel like he's on this big, great journey with the Flying Kipper. Everything falls into place perfectly when he's rushing through the towns, or when they realize that the signal's down and they're going to crash into the back of the van, and when they hit the van, everything cuts perfect.
Just in time.
And I have listened to this track over and over again. It's perfect. I mean, I don't know how they did it, but it's perfect. Whether Ringo Starr or George Carlin are on the call for this episode, it doesn't really matter. Both the US and the UK versions are great. There are some minor differences, but I don't think either of them did a bad job at all. Whichever episode you're listening to, you know it's going to be a good one. I could probably go on, but I'm going to stop here. If you somehow haven't seen this episode, go and watch it. You won't regret it.